While he definitely has an NFL arm, it's Tyler Shough's legs that can take the New Orleans Saints offense to the next level.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, it's the Carolina Panthers pass rush or lack thereof that should give you some confidence going into this weekend's Saints game. Brandon Staley's defense has been doing a lot right, but it's what they did different up against Tampa that probably helped win them the game, and we'll kick everything off with Tyler Shough and why his legs are changing the game for Kellen Moore and the New Orleans Saints offense. We got all that and a little bit of lanyard for you on today's episode. We appreciate you very much, whether it's your first time or your next time, being here with us this time, making us your first listen, and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you for helping us get here as we bring you your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. If you want to get right in the middle of all of the action this season, head over to FanDuel.com where you can place your NFL live bets all season long. New Orleans Saints quarterback Tyler Shough has the NFL arm, he has the NFL size, but it's his legs that might be the key to unlocking Kellen Moore's offense for the future. We did our all-access film study earlier this week, breaking down 3 big runs by Tyler Shough. First, the 11-yard run in the first quarter on a 1st and 10 that was on a zone read keeper that he took around the left side. Zone read is where, just in case you don't know, where you take the snap, you offer it to, you have the option rather to go to the running back, but if you see the defense key a certain way, you might pull it and keep it. Otherwise, you might hand it off and let the running back take it. Saints ran 2 very similar styles of play, similar but not the exact same styles of that play, one of which picked them up 11 yards. And if Tyler Shough might have cut it inside of Juwan Johnson, who was the lead blocker off of that split flow action where he crossed the back behind the offensive line to lead the way for Tyler Shough, and he crossed on the inside of him, maybe would have gotten a touchdown, but the depth of the safety maybe made that a little bit too challenging, maybe too risky in a way. But then in the second opportunity, all the way later on in the third quarter, that's what led to the 34-yard run. Very similar plays, the two of these. The same split flow, to where when we talk about split flow, we're talking about somebody after the snap crossing the back of the formation behind the offensive line so they can become a lead blocker on the opposite side from where they lined up. The first example of that was Juwan Johnson. Second example of that was Devon Vele, both doing the job very well. In the first run, they went for 11 yards. You saw Chris Olave come in with a crack block to take out Antoine Winfield. We saw a very similar situation with Taysom Hill, who was lined up in line, 2 tight ends over on the left side on the 34-yard run. He took the snap, released out to the outside, but then cut back inside, almost like a little mini angle route to go and hit Antoine Winfield, take him out of the play. And then it was really just up to the rest of the blockers to do what they needed to do. The offensive line did a great job on both sides of this play, or both iterations of this play. And Tyler Shough doing a good job of going and picking up the yards that were there for him. And then, of course, the second touchdown, the 20-something yard touchdown run that he had, that one was off of just a broken play. He was looking for Taysom Hill on kind of the out and up out of the backfield, but 3 pass rushers got through. He evaded all 3 pass rushers. Goes to show you why the NFL size is so important. It's hard to take a guy down when he's 6'5", 200 plus in the backfield. And then he has that 4.67 speed that he tested with the 40-yard dash at the combine. And he ends up scoring another touchdown on that one, diving in to the front pylon of the end zone and staying in bounds to get the touchdown there. So we saw kind of these examples of Tyler Shough doing some nice things within the system and outside of the system. Remember, we've talked about that a lot. That a lot of the big plays that Tyler Shough made going all the way back to the Rams game were out of structure. We saw a lot more in structure plays being made, I would say, against Miami, as well as here up against Tampa in particular, to where you can see, okay, you see Kellen Moore's offense starting to take shape. And I think that a big part of what you're seeing with Tyler Shough is something that really, really brings the best out of Kellen Moore's offense. Kellen Moore had early Dak Prescott before the ankle injury, the gruesome ankle injury. And then, before that, he was kind of running a lot more. He was being utilized as a design rush player, all those other pieces. Same thing with Justin Herbert. Same thing with Jalen Hurts last year. And now you're finally starting to see it integrated into the Saints offense with Tyler Shough. We saw this a lot during training camp to where they were running a lot of designed runs for Tyler in particular, whether they were zone reads or maybe QB power kind of stuff. There were a couple of QB sweeps, a couple of different things that they did with him, trying to take advantage of his long strides, his athleticism, and the speed that he has for the position as well. But we didn't see a lot of it in the regular season up until this game up against Tampa. We did see it in the preseason, though. If you remember right, in the final preseason game up against the Denver Broncos, it was a rushing touchdown off of a zone read for Tyler Shough that got him into the end zone in that third preseason game. And so the Saints know that they can do this with Tyler Shough, but they hadn't really dedicated and really kind of committed to it up until maybe the Tampa game. Maybe the Tampa game might be maybe a little bit earlier, but it certainly feels like they really leaned into it in the Tampa game. And honestly, I hope that they keep it up. Now, it's challenging, right? You don't want to do this 7, 8, 9, 12 times with your quarterback in the backfield. You probably only want to do this a few times per game because you just want to reduce the number of hits that they might take, all those things. But I mean, if you have somebody at the quarterback position that can force defenses to play 11 on 11 football, meaning that you have to treat him as a threat with the ball in his hands just as much as you have to treat his targets as a threat with the ball in his hands, right? Because he's dropping back to pass, but you have to be aware of the fact that he can run, that he can escape, that he can also have these plays designed for him, QB draws, which we saw some of that as well in training camp. Then I think that opens up this offense even more. And it really seems to put Kellen Moore in the most comfortable environment when the offense is, shocker, running the football. It's what every offense wants to do. It's what every team wants to be able to do in the NFL. You want to be able to run the football. And when you have not just a stable of guys in the backfield, nice little breakout game there for Devin Neal, who rushed for 70 yards, had 84 total yards, picked up some crucial third downs, has the longest run by a New Orleans Saints running back since week 9 of 2024, actually, is when it was. It was against Carolina, funny enough, who the Saints are about to take on next week and who Tyler Shough got his first career win against just a few weeks ago. But he had the Saints' longest rush by a running back of 20 or more yards. The first one since week 9 of 2024 came from Devin Neal up against Tampa Bay, which, by the way, keep in mind, Tampa Bay was the number 6 rushing offense going into this game, and the rushing defense going into this game. They were outstanding against the run, and the Saints found a way, and Kellen Moore found a way, and Devin Neal and Audric Estime, Evan Hull, and Tyler Shough all found a way to go out there and produce on the ground. And so I think that the more that you open that up and the more that you have to, as a defense, respect what Tyler Shough can do with the ball in his hands as a rusher and as a threat in the ground game, I think it opens up more of your playbook. And I'll be completely honest, and you might disagree with me on this. That's okay. Let me know. I think that it probably opens up your offense more than having Taysom Hill handle that stuff. Because if you switch Tyler Shough out and put Taysom Hill in, then all of a sudden you're kind of signaling what it is that you're planning to do. At least with Tyler Shough, it's a mystery because he can do all the things. He can throw the ball downfield. He can pick you apart in the middle of the field. He's been efficient, making good decisions, good accuracy, better ball placement. That's been improving over the course of this time. Still some things that you'd like to see him improve. I'm not trying to say anybody's perfect here. I'm not trying to call the Saints what they aren't. But if this is a team that's looking to improve, that's looking to build, that's looking to grow, that's looking to evolve, incorporating the quarterback run game is a big piece of evolving in today's NFL, and not just doing it as a means of getting out of trouble, which we can see Tyler Shough can do, but doing it as an intentional part of your offense and as an intentional part of your identity. I think that takes the New Orleans Saints offense to a whole nother level. Nice little Key and Peele reference for you there. All right, coming up next, we're going to take a look at the New Orleans Saints defense. Brandon Staley has been doing a lot of good things, but it's what he changed on Sunday that might have won the game for New Orleans. Let's get to that next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends at Mint Mobile. There's no reason to let big wireless continue to take money out of your wallets, especially with the holiday season on the way, when you could be getting Mint Mobile's best deal of the year, 50% off of their unlimited plans. That's 3, 6, or 12 months at $15 per month. The service is fast and super reliable, even on the go. You can turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint today. Shop at Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Limited time offer, upfront payments of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, and $180 for 12-month plans required. That's $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees, initial term only. More than 35 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com for more. All right, family. New Orleans Saints defensive coordinator Brandon Staley pulled off one of the hallmarks of what I think makes a great NFL coach, and that's the ability to adjust. We thank you very much for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Saints podcast and for being an everydayer. For you everydayers that are looking for even more content, let me tell you a little bit about our everydayer program. We have 2 levels for you. $5 a month gets you ad-free, get you access to our Locked On Discord server, and the long-awaited members-only Locked On merch store. You can get access to all that for just $5 a month. $15 a month gets you our all-access plan, where you get all of that, including daily newsletters from me personally, additional exclusive episodes, exclusive interviews, locker room content, and film studies, and much more. And of course, also get you access to our ad-free feeds and all those pieces as well. So come and check us out over at lockedonsaints.supercast.com, or you can click a link in the description to become an all-access or everydayer member. Come and hang out with us. We actually just did a full video film study of all 3 of the big runs by Tyler Shough. We have even more on the way this week. Lots of bonus content, including interviews and things like that from the locker room. All that you can come through for that, including a one-on-one with one of the Saints' newest additions on the roster as well. So come on through, check all that out. I think one of the things that makes an NFL coach a great NFL coach is the ability to adjust. And I think that being able to adjust shows you a couple of different things. First of all, it shows you an understanding of the changing landscape of the NFL. Offenses are evolving, changing, and getting better every single week, all throughout the year. Defenses are evolving, changing, and getting better every single week, all throughout the year. And if you're a coach that refuses to adjust to that, you're going to get left in the dust. You can't just walk in and say, we do what we do. We're not worried about what they do. We're changing nothing. You're going to get left behind in the NFL. And we've seen that here in New Orleans happen. The stubborn nature of I'm not changing leading to you not winning. And so for the Saints, a lot of what we talked about for them and a lot of the coaches that I've talked to have highlighted and praised both Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley for lacking the ego that keeps them from being stuck in that pattern of I refuse to change. My way is the only way. And instead, they take feedback from other coaches. They take feedback in consideration from players. Famously, this was a big part of what Sean Payton's process was. Obviously, there was an end-all be-all in terms of the decision, and that is true here in New Orleans as well, with Brandon Staley and his defense, with Kellen Moore and his offense. We highlighted some of the things that changed in Kellen Moore's offense this past week that might have won them the game, utilizing Tyler Shough more in his rushing ability and taking advantage of what he can do on the ground. But over on the defensive side, Brandon Staley did something very similar. The Saints are very much a high-level usage zone team. There's no doubt about that. Even through Week 14 up against Tampa, this team has deployed zone coverage, according to our friends over at True Media, more than 76% of the time on defense. And this is something that players really like. They love being able to keep their eyes on the quarterback, makes them feel like they're able to kind of see where things might go, understand a little bit more about how to attack what's developing in front of them, seeing the entire picture of what's developing in front of them, and allowing them to be able to be more aggressive and going to go and make a play. If you want an example of this, go and watch the Alontae Taylor interception and then go and see his post-game interview. In fact, I'll actually put that all together for you on the All Access program. I'm a genius. I'm going to write that down before I forget about it. Alontae Taylor. But that was a good example of him keeping his eyes in the backfield, watching where the quarterback was going, seeing the route concept develop in front of him, knowing what it was from the previous film study and the front work. This is a very important piece to all of it, is how prepared these guys have been on the defensive side going into matchups in particular, and then being able to run the route for the receiver to get the interception. Great example of that. But that might have been one example through zone coverage, but it was the fact that the Saints completely flipped the script and ran a lot more man coverage against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that might have actually kept Tampa off balance big time throughout this matchup. So the Saints came in to this game off of a game against the Miami Dolphins where they played zone coverage more than 88% of the game per True Media. They walked into this matchup having faced the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in week 8, running just 21.4%, so less than a quarter of their offense in man coverage. So not a lot of man coverage used. Some of the highest when it comes to, actually it was the previous high this season. Well, sorry, second highest this season so far was up against Tampa. But then going into this game, according to Next Gen Stats, the Saints ran man coverage over 37% of the time, the most all season. They completely flipped the script of what it was that they had been doing and their brand and their identity on defense, and it worked. It worked incredibly well. Now, were there a couple of times where there were some wide open rushers or wide open runners, wide open receivers, and there were some lucky breaks here and there? Absolutely. There's no doubting that, right? Emeka Egbuka dropping a wide open touchdown in the end zone off of an aggressive Quincy Riley trying to go and make a play on the double move there and everything. But those are the types of risks you take when you want your corners to be aggressive. No one's looking at Quincy Riley with side eye off of that one. They want you to be aggressive. Go out there and be aggressive, especially as a young corner like that. Learn. And that's exactly what happened there. They got away with it. But outside of that, Saints defense did work. You look back at the last time that the Saints and the Bucs met, they did hold Baker Mayfield to just 152 passing yards, but he still completed 62.5% of his passes. And remember, that's been a big part of the story around the Saints defense all season long, that they allowed 70 plus completion percentages and 100 plus passer ratings for a lot of this season, particularly earlier on in the year. And as players have kind of settled in, those numbers have started to come down. The frequency of those numbers has started to come down, and the passing metrics have begun to be impacted for sure. But deploying a lot more man defense isn't just getting more comfortable in your system. It's getting so comfortable in your system that you're willing to change it and do something different, knowing the opponent that you're going up against. And the Saints knew that there was no Mike Evans on the field. They knew that there was no Jalen McMillan on the field. They knew that there were a lot of either older or small wide receivers. And so what did they do? They played man coverage. They said, we can hang with you. And when they did that, they forced Baker Mayfield's lowest completion percentage of his Buccaneers experience at just 46.7%. It worked, and it worked brilliantly. And I think beyond just it working for this game, it's a great tone setter for the players. I talked to Isaac Yiadom in the locker room, an interview, him and actually Ugo Amadi, we all chatted at the same time. And it's an interview that our All Access members have access to. And that was, in that conversation, one of the big things that Isaac Yiadom highlighted was that he's not afraid, like they have the things that they do that are core to their identity, but that they're not afraid to do different things. They're not afraid to do things that are specifically built to taking away what it is that the opponent likes to do. And I think that the lack of ego, the confidence and the familiarity that all the players have and that now the defensive coordinator has led to this New Orleans Saints defense just getting better and better and better every year. I can't wait to see what this Brandon Staley defense looks like next season. I think it's going to keep getting better this year, but next year, after an offense to keep adding pieces, I'm really excited to see what this all looks like. All right, coming up next, we're going to wrap this up by looking ahead to the Sunday game between the Saints and the Panthers and why the Panthers' lack of pass rush might be the best thing for the New Orleans Saints this weekend. We got that coming for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything changes. And over at FanDuel, they'll change with it thanks to their live betting, allowing you to keep up with all of that fast moving that's going on on the NFL field. Maybe a team that was favored opens up favored, but then doesn't necessarily look great through the first half. They're trailing. Well, the line will shift and you can get in on that action. If you're expecting some kind of a big comeback, or maybe you want to ride the hot hand, you can go next touchdown score. You can bet drive results all throughout the game. That's one of my favorite things to do, especially in college football where things can be a little bit unpredictable, and much more. You can go and find it all today at FanDuel.com. So if you want to be right in the middle of all of the action as the season continues on, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. That's FanDuel.com. The game moves fast, and so can you. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints will be taking on the Carolina Panthers this weekend in Week 15. And it's the Panthers' lack of ability to get to the quarterback that should allow the Saints to continue to build momentum with their offense behind rookie quarterback Tyler Shough. We appreciate you very much, as always, being making us your first listen and being an everydayer here on the show. Big shout out to Terrell and Darrell. Get great opportunity to meet you guys. Thanks so much for saying hi. For the Everydayer program, if you want to get your first month free, if Locked On Saints is on your Spotify Wrapped or your YouTube replay, share it on social media and tag either Locked On Network or Locked On Podcast, the national account for whichever social media platform you prefer, and you'll get your first month free so you can come and try it out. That will be the all access version of it. So you'll be able to get all the exclusive content as well. So go and check that out as well. All right. So for New Orleans, the Carolina Panthers' inability to get after the quarterback this year is well documented, right? 27.7% pressure rate so far this season. That's last in the NFL, number 32, womp womp. Their 18 sacks, 31st in the NFL, second to last in the league. So this game against the team that Tyler Shough got his first career win against, by the way, in Carolina, coming to New Orleans, should provide a pretty positive matchup for both Tyler Shough and Kellen Moore and the Saints offense. Because if you're going to give the offense time and you're not going to be able to put the pressure on the quarterback, that's going to give Tyler Shough a lot of opportunity to let things develop downfield. And with the not only low pressure, but low sack numbers, that tends to kind of suggest that on a pressure to sack conversion rate, the Panthers are also low. Getting to him might not be enough because you might not be able to get him down. That's certainly what we saw last time these two teams met right before the bye week, where Tyler Shough found Juwan Johnson for a big 50-plus yard gain, navigating the pocket, stepping up, kind of weaving and bobbing all the way through. But then on top of that, later on, doing the same thing and finding Juwan Johnson for a touchdown in the similar area of the field. But Tyler Shough made plays in structure too. The big 62-yard touchdown down the right sideline to Chris Olave. That was because enough time had developed, or enough time was available in front of Tyler Shough to allow that route to develop downfield. He was then able to put the ball where it needed to be. Chris Olave makes a great play. J.C. Horn falls down. Chris Olave doesn't lose concentration despite his defensive back falling down in front of him. And then he goes up there, makes the catch, and gets a touchdown. You saw that other beautiful floater over the top on a much needed big play to convert a first down there when Chris Olave was working towards that left sideline, where he kind of put the touch on the pass, got it over the underneath defender and put it right where it needed to be for another one that was also in structure. And so it kind of works both ways here. If you're not going to get pressure, then some of these plays are going to start to come together in structure. And as the offense and the players in the offense get used to executing and feeling what it's like to execute the plays well, that rhythm is just going to continue to build. Rhythm and timing. That was a big part of what Lance Moore, New Orleans Saints wide receiver, and one of our hosts over on the Locked On Saints Squad show every Wednesday and Sunday, talked about last week. Timing and rhythm. Hitting things in structure. And so as the Saints get more comfortable doing that, they're going to become a more dangerous offense. And as you, as a defense, don't put pressure on the quarterback, it's only going to expedite that process to where they're going to be able to start to get some momentum and get some feel, get some rhythm, get some timing, and especially doing it at home, where Saints fans are going to be pretty excited to see what it is that the quarterbacks can do, or the quarterback can do, and the offense as a whole can do here in New Orleans after being on the road and showing some impressive things in the second half of the Miami game, and then for 60 minutes up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That momentum's only going to build too, because the stadium's going to become a big part of this, and dome field advantage, which the Saints desperately need to earn back. Not that you have to give it to them, but they have to earn it back. Now you will, because it's a loyal fan base. And that's what it's like being a part of a loyal fan base. You're cheering for 3-10, just like you would for 10-3 if you're in the building. But right now, the Saints got to get you in the building, right? And they need to earn that. And so they're working on that part of the process right now. It's a very important part of the process. And if they continue to do that, then I think that this is just going to quickly begin to help the Saints get more comfortable, help the offense get more comfortable, help Tyler Shough, Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Devin Neal, Alvin Kamara if he's back, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, potentially Taysom Hill, and more, get more comfortable in what it is that they're doing. And then above all else, help Kellen Moore get more comfortable in what he's doing over in the offensive side as well. Because it feels like they're starting to build an identity. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know that they know what it is yet, but they're building that identity. And certainly the legs of Tyler Shough are a big part of that, but also the legs of the running backs, the ability to throw the football down the field. All of that is going to be a big part of it. And letting the New Orleans Saints find their identity, find their rhythm without having a good pass rush against them is only going to expedite their growing process. And that's good news for New Orleans Saints fans and great news for the New Orleans Saints this weekend as they take on the Panthers at home. All right, family, time for a little bit of lanyard for those of you that made it, the real ones that made it here to the end of the episode. I appreciate you very much for being here. I got the great opportunity to go and cover a community event on Tuesday. Cam Jordan and Tyler Shough at the Raising Canes in Metairie in collaboration with Canes, the Youth Empowerment Project, donating 100 bicycles and helmets to the Boys and Girls Club of Metro New Orleans. It was awesome. The reason why I'm bringing this up, though, is because one of the big question marks about the New Orleans Saints' future is who's going to be the player or who are going to be the players that are very involved in the community. Tyrann Mathieu retired. Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, eventually that clock runs out. So who are going to be those New Orleans Saints that are going to be an active part of the community, that are going to be going to schools every Tuesday, that are going to be spending the days off with kids at schools and all these other kinds of community events, fundraisers, all these other pieces. And I think if you ask enough players, a lot of them will tell you that one of the guys that they think it's going to be is Tyler Shough. And Tyler Shough kind of started to take that step forward. He did it. He was there for the Girls and Boys Club of Metro New Orleans, working with Cam Jordan for that. He was at the SPCA over on Mardi Gras, over on the West Bank, just across the bridge, with Gail Benson doing an event over there as well. And so he's kind of starting to find his foothold there. And I think that it's a great thing. We're talking about him from the future quarterback perspective and the potential franchise quarterback perspective. And a big part of that isn't just what happens on the field. It's what you do off the field and how you represent this city, how you represent this community as well. And so far, it feels like he's taken the right steps forward. Now, I might vary and be a little bit different on this. I've seen people say, well, he should just do it and not worry about where there's cameras are and things like that. First of all, that's not his choice. There's a lot of other people that are involved about whether cameras are present or not, whether press is present or not. That's not a Tyler Shough decision. That's not a Cam Jordan decision. There's a lot of people that make those choices. But even still, I think, and this is where I might differ, I think it's important not to move in silence on these things. I think it's important to show your community that you're there. The New Orleans Saints spent 2 years with Derek Carr, who moved in silence. He did do some things in the community, but he didn't like having the cameras and stuff like that. But then you put a camera on him and you ask him about him, he was happy to tell you, I did stuff with no cameras there. Same thing, my guy. And so now, with this situation, with Tyler Shough, let everybody know that you're entrenching yourself in this community and that you give a bleep about this city, about this region, about this team, about this state, about this fan base. And so I commend Tyler Shough, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, and the rest of the New Orleans Saints. There were about 10 different community events happening around the city on Tuesday. And I commend the New Orleans Saints for continuing to include themselves and ingratiate themselves within the community and trying to have a difference and trying to have an impact. But it is important for that impact and for that difference to be vocalized and to be seen. And so I think it's a great thing, years now of not having the quarterback out in the community. I'm leaving Spencer Rattler out of that conversation because, of course, he did, we saw it. He did a lot of things too. But after a couple years of Derek Carr, it's great to see a little bit of this. If you're going to be the franchise guy and the face of this community, the face of this organization, you have to be the face. You have to be a face within the community as well. And I think that Tyler Shough has taken some early steps to doing that. Kudos to the young man. All right, coming up in tomorrow's episode, Julian Council and I breaking down everything you need to know about the Saints and Panthers matchup for Crossover Thursday. And don't forget to catch us every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. We appreciate you very much, as always, making this a party day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me on the show. If you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Know how the family's doing, how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.